What's happening, folks? Gerald here, aka J from 90, with another album review for you. This is for the Beatles' second album, With the Beatles, released November 22nd, 1963. So, one thing I've learned about the first album since doing the review to it all is that I did not know the majority of the tracks, and I mean vast majority of the tracks, were recorded in one day. That's pretty amazing. That's pretty cool. Now, this one I see did a little bit of pre-research, just light reading. I still want some information from you guys in the comments there, but this one did not take one day. This one took 3 months, it says. The recording took over a span of 3 months. The majority of the songs were written by John and Paul, as usual. But, of course, then there's some George-led tracks and written tracks. And then there's another one Ringo. And I went into this one very excited because some of the songs from this album are some of my first reactions I've done to the Beatles. Some of the first Beatles songs I opened up my persona and image and life to, like, hearing this out on camera for my reaction series. So I've listened to it all. It took 2 days, and I've compiled my thoughts and my grading. I'm gonna say what each grade means for each track, but just so you can get the overall idea, it is a number system. 1, obsessed. It's perfect. I love it. I want it in my life all the time. I will play it all day if I need to or if I want to. 2, I love it. Not quite obsessed with it, but I really love it, and I'd really like to hear a lot more of it. Number 3, I like it. You know, hey, it can move up to love and obsession, but I like it, and that means something too. And that means that, you know, if I might not jump to this track, but if it plays, I'm likely not to skip it. 4 is the rough, technical, almost middle ground one with meh. It's okay, basically. 4 is okay and meh, meaning, and it's a little dangerous because it means I'm indifferent, which also for me is code for forgettable. You know, and it can move up, it can move down, but it means that it didn't really stick. That it's like, it's what the thing what's the saying, I could have had a V8, you know, basically that. But then 5 is dislike. I don't like it. And that doesn't count things out because there's songs that I first listened to don't like, but then they move up to me loving in time. Sometimes songs need growth and experience, and they need emotions and feelings that you can attach to grow to love them. But number 6, on the other hand here, that's 6 is hate. I loathe. And those songs exist, but they very rarely ever move up. So yeah, that's my grading system. And again, I'll be reminding you which each means, well, when I go down the list of the tracks, and that'll be starting now. With the Beatles starts with It Won't Be Long, led by John. And I gave it a 1, obsessed. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. It's so much fun. It's so much fun, and it's so catchy. And I find myself just randomly now, because I'm like 2 days removed from it, from doing these notes and this reaction, that I just find myself, it won't be long, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's so much fun. I love it. It's so much fun, and it's like the perfect. What's fun? I can see this song being a fantastic road trip song where the whole car is like singing, you know, and having fun. Either singing John's lead with it or doing the background and doing the other yes. It's so much fun. I also love that prominent guitar that you hear too in there. I love that. Very strong. So track number 2, All I've Got to Do, led by John, and I gave track number 2 a 2. I love it. I really love it. It is actually my first Beatles reaction song. It really is. It feels like forever ago now. It's funny. It both feels like yesterday and feels like a million years ago now. So I loved it ever since my first reaction, and it's a great mood song. And like I said, it so smooth. Reminds me of that good, smooth 60s feel that I love. The feeling that the song invokes in me is like the feeling of sunset. sunset on a perfect day, and it's all yellow outside, and maybe you see some clouds, and just a warm, comfortable feeling. Loved it. Track number 3, All My Loving, led by Paul. And I gave that one a number 2. I love it as well. And my favorite thing is the complete change at the chorus. The song has like different vibes and different moods to it, but it's got its own kind of energy, and I like that. It's like it brings emotions to it, so I love it. All My Loving, I gave it number 2. All My Loving, I gave it a 2, so it gets my loving for sure. You have track number 4, which is Don't Bother Me, which is led by George and is also written by George. I gave that one a 1. It's so smooth, and I love George's voice on this song. So yeah, like, don't bother him. I love it. And it's just that thing, because he's too cool. But it is that thing. I can relate so much to what the song's talking about, trying to figure out what is life with this breakup, basically. I understand that. For me, yeah, I get it. And I love it. I really love the vibe for it. Track number 5, Little Child. John featuring Paul, I think featuring Paul on harmonica. And I gave that one a 2 as well. I love it. I love it. So much fun, but harmonica. I love the harmonica so much. Oh my goodness. And that's my favorite part of it. It's just such a playful song too. Really great energy. It makes me feel like a kid, actually. I really love it. And again, that harmonica. Love it. My favorite part. So, Little Child, I gave a 2. I love it. Till It Was You, sung lead by Paul, but written by Meredith Willson. 3, the first 3 of the album. I like it. It's beautifully written and sung. Paul's voice with the soft guitar might be my favorite part of it. It's got such a dreamy vibe. So, intimate. Perfect for a date. Love it. Perfect for a date. Really good vibe. So it's a song with, like I said, me giving it a 3, and I like it. I can't see myself going to it on the album like I could for the other ones above it, but I wouldn't necessarily skip it. Track number 7, another reaction I did. Please, Please, Mr. Postman, led by John and written by Georgia Dobbins, William Garrett, Freddie Gorman, Brian Holland of Holland Dozier Holland, and Robert Bateman. 1, obsessed. I love it. Ever since I did the reaction to it, I love their version so very much. I don't like it more than the Marvelous original version, but that's a hard thing to accomplish with me, because I grew up on the Marvelous version. I've first heard that song when I was like 6 or 7, so that one is what I hear the most with it. But there's space for this one. There's space for those 2 songs to exist next to each other, and I love that this one has a different vibe. It doesn't feel like it's not a by the number remake, And it's not that that's a problem, but I feel like that gives it more power to stand with the original. So I very much respect that. And what's funny is, in the 2-year difference, the Marvelous version was from 1961, their version from 63. Music changed in the 60s, and like each individual year had its own sound and feel to it. But I love that you can kind of feel that, the difference between 1961 Motown and 1963 the UK. So yeah, it's a fantastic cover. It's what I look for when someone covers a song I already have a strong familiarity with. One reaction I did recently was Silk Sonic's cover of Confunction's Love's Train. And that's the same deal, where now that one I ended up loving more, but that's for the instrumentals more so. But even then, still, you want something that's going to give it a slightly different approach to the original. That's what my preference with covers anyway. Track number 8, another cover, Roll Over Beethoven, sung lead by George and written by Chuck Berry. I gave this one a 3. I like it. It's really fun. It's pretty faithful to the original. It's this one you do hear that 50s sound, that 50s kind of twang in there a bit. So it's a little bit more kind of the opposite of what I said with Postman, where this one is kind of more of a on brand or on par remake. Like it sounds pretty much just like it. And I like it, but I just can't quite see myself going back to this song specifically. So that's me for Rollover Beethoven. But I also love George's vocal on it, but I prefer Don't Bother Me, like his vocal on that more than this one. But this is great. The next one, track number 9, Hold Me Tight, led by Paul. The first meh number 4 that I give on the album. It's the song I kind of forget. It's the song of the bunch that I kind of forget. And I like it when I hear it. It's nice, nothing really wrong with it, but it just doesn't keep my attention. And it's the first song that I can say that for. But even with the previous songs, I give a 3, where I like them. The difference between a like and a meh is attention. If it can't hold my attention, you lose a point. If I can get easily distracted by something, then yeah, it's a 4, And then track number 10, You Really Got a Hold on Me, led by John and Paul, written by the legendary Smokey Robinson. I gave this one a 2. I love it. Another reaction I did. Okay, and now here's something you really want to hear when it comes to, me and listening to their covers, especially from a Motown cover. I think I might like their version more than the Miracles. That's a lot. But it never really was one of my favorite Miracles songs. But I always, loved it. But there's something about theirs. There's something about John and Paul's voice for this song that I love. And versus with the Miracles, it's Smokey's voice primarily that I love in it. But, this John, it's like just Smokey and then there's John and Paul. Even though you have the Miracles backing up Smokey, but, it's different. But, I feel like if it was just John or just Paul, it might not have been as strong for me as it is with the two of them singing it like a duet. I love that. Track number 11, I Wanna Be Your Man, led by Ringo. I gave this one a 2. I love it. Y'all know I was ready for the Ringo track. And after my response of Boys off of the last album, y'all know I was ready for that Ringo track, especially after Boys from the last album. This one hit, but it didn't hit as hard as Boys for me. Boys was a fantastic introduction to me for Ringo. And this one is really good, but I don't think that this one would have stood out. It doesn't stand out the same way, that Boys does for me. But hey, I love it, thus the 2. But if it were the first Ringo song I heard the way Boys was, I would be impressed, but not as impressed. It's basically that. Track number 12, Devil in Her Heart, led by George, written by Richard Drapekin. And I gave this one a 2 as well. I love it. It's another song with all these great things, with all these great things about it. So, funny story with how I do this. When I played it on my first go round, I always give a number score for my first listen, but then I wait for, hearing things a few more times to see when numbers change, if songs go up or down. With my first listen, this song was a 3 for, I like it, But it wasn't until my listen the next day where it's like, oh, rose it up. I love it. I like it more. It kind of stuck with me a bit. And what did that for sure with the vocals. And it's because I love George's voice on it, but then also John and Paul in the background, very prominent. And it's like, I really like their blends on that song. Really good. Track number 13, Not a Second Time, led by John. I gave it a 3. I like it. The drums are probably my favorite part of it and probably what makes it the most memorable for me. And then the last track of the album, track number 14, Money, That's What I Want, led by John, written by Berry Gordy and Jane Bradford. 2, This absolutely delivers, and it's probably my favorite John vocal on this whole album. It's really good, but it didn't really outshine Postman for me as a whole song. But I would definitely say it is my second favorite cover on the album for sure. Cause this is an album with a lot of covers, so that's saying something. So my overall thoughts and final grade on this album, without a doubt, as much as I enjoyed the debut, I can honestly say I like this one more, and I will probably return more to this one than that. And it's like, and what's cool in my numbering system is evident with it's only one meh. It's only one number four, one meh, And I can go as far as to say among my favorite artists already who released music in 1963, artists again like Aretha Franklin, Marvin Gaye, The Supremes, and The Temptations. This might be my favorite start to finish album of their work in that year. A lot of them they have favorite songs of mine and favorite songs in their discographies released that year, but the albums, a lot of the albums were not, that great for me. And what's funny is their first album was in '63, so this it beats that too with this and everything. What's really interesting to me about these first two albums is having this view of the Beatles and having this view of them like this, and then having an outline idea of where they go to, until their end at the end of the '60s. This is really interesting for me because this is them still being uniquely them, but they're more so trying to find their voices and find their originality and still also kind of adhering to like what's expected of them, what's expected of a boy band or a group at that time, a rock band at that time and everything. But we all know that they eventually flipped that. And so I'm having fun waiting for when that flip's going to come. And so, but it's just interesting, this perspective of them, this starting out phase of them. And what was cool about that is that even in them, like I said, still kind of doing what was expected of boy bands and groups to do, other bands, other groups of all kinds, they were still winning. And then they went on and still changed the game like later and all that. And that's really cool. Like I said, I really enjoyed this album. I will definitely be going back to it a lot. My '60s playlist is loaded with almost this whole album now, and that brings me to my overall grade for this album is an A minus. The previous album got a B plus. This one gets an A minus. There's a lot of songs in this album I could see myself becoming way more familiar with and going to all the time. So really enjoyed this. And thank you guys very much for watching this, for encouraging me on my way in this journey. Excited for the next albums to come. Excited for the next albums to come and see where they continue to go. I'm also going to do their documentary eventually of their touring years and all that. I'm excited about that. I really am. And I haven't decided yet if I'm going to make that, a reactionary thing. I'm a movie guy. I have my procedures and practices and everything, and this is not quite one of them. I like to be extremely comfortable and not be watched when I'm watching a more than 30-minute thing. So we'll see, but I'm excited to see that movie. But hey, thank you all again very much for watching. Please, in the comments below, your thoughts on this album, their second album with the Beatles. What are your favorite tracks? What do you think of my reaction? But remember, my opinion is my opinion based on my opinion. So, it doesn't take away from yours. I hope none of my opinions ever offend you. I'm very careful with my wording, my phrasing for that, because I know these songs mean something special, just like for my favorite artists and all that too. Our favorite songs are our favorite songs. That's ours. So, I'm trying to be very respectful and careful with my wording. If the case does come where I don't like a song or anything, luckily, again, with them, I can trust that there won't be anything I hate. There will be no number 6 in there. But with a possible number 5 eventually, I'm always going to be aim to be respectful. So I ask that in the comments you do the same to me, in my opinion. But I get it either way. I'm putting my opinion out there like that. But if you enjoyed this if you enjoyed this review, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Ring the bell for notification. A lot more to come. A lot more album reviews like this for the Beatles, for other artists to come. If you would like to follow me on my social media, that's in the description below. If you would like to donate to me in the channel, that's in the description below as well. I'd very much appreciate that. And more than anything else in the world, please take care of yourself and each other. I can feel with everything that I want. My sweet love. Run with me, bang, if you can feel the pain. Don't you get what you want. Everything that I wanted.